What's going on, everybody? Welcome to Blast Push to Talk, episode 3, month 3. Some people don't last a couple of weeks on this podcast, but how we keep this podcast going is by recording once a month so it can't die too soon. We've only done 3 episodes, but it's over 3 months, a quarter of the year.
This podcast is sponsored by EPOS, the power of audio. Is it time to take your streaming to the next level? The new EPOS B20 streaming microphone offers you exceptional plug-and-play audio and filters out any background noises to make you sound like a pro. Learn more about the new B20 streaming microphone at eposaudio.com/gaming. You know, I think it's only been 3 episodes, but we're making moves. Here we are now recording with the live Discord audience on the side. We know you're out there. Thanks for tuning in this way as well. And, you know, last time we recorded a podcast, man, we had breaking news like 3 times throughout the 2 hours that we recorded. We had HLTV on one screen. We had everything open. We looked like we were plugged into the Matrix. We looked like the Blast production room, to be honest with you.
You wish we looked like the Blast production room, Scrawny.
I kind of do.
So 10:30 in the morning in North America, the only region that matters, Tuesday, the 29th. And it is now about a full week and a bit since we were at Blast for the fall series. Sorry, fall groups. You have that right?
Spring finals? the spring finals, right? That's the event we're talking about. Not the one that's in 6 months. Or 85 days at this point, I believe.
The spring finals. What an event it was. Take us through it, Scrawny.
The spring finals at Blast, okay? One of the best seeded events in Blast history.
Okay.
Because if I'm not mistaken, with my conversations with what do we call Rob Mulligan, tournament admin, tournament advisor, I believe.
Resident hair
based
guy.
On our conversation together, that because Gambit won and pushed NAVI into second place, the entire event ended with the seeds falling in the place that they were seeded. The event literally went to perfection. It went exactly as it should have been expected based on paper. And how often do Counter-Strike events actually go down like that? Probably once in a while.
Especially online.
Right.
Yeah.
Big asterisk, especially online. So the spring finals basically came through as expected. I think there are surprises within, you know, if you move, you got to pick up the rocks and check underneath to find the good worms.
Okay. What was the surprise, do you think?
What was the surprise?
Yeah.
One of my biggest surprises was, how badly Complexity smashed Nip on Ancient.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
That's a little mini surprise.
It was like the bully. It was the bully bros. It was Blame F running down mid and Config pushing cave. And then both of them just crushing NIP like grapes outside of B main every single round.
Like you could feel them leaving spawn, man. Just and then every time Nip got in their way, poor old LNZ, who we will talk about because his performance was stellar, man. LNZ's coming out of spawn. Hampus is called the B hit for the 14th T round in a row.
Hompus.
Config comes charging through the caves like an ape, man. Nobody was stopping him. It was sick. So that to me was one of those little small ones. But
weren't you gonna ask me if I have one?
No, I was gonna ask you about the fact that you called the final 2 teams.
I'm a god. I called the final 2 teams. Who could have guessed it? Gambit versus NAVI in the final. The best part of all is Alex is doing our predictions, and I picked NAVI to win the tournament. On the last day, I had to pick NAVI because they made it to the finals, so the semifinals. And then Alex put down Gambit for me. And I believed Gambit were going to win, so I'm very thankful to Alex. But I also got to call him out for messing up my predictions and picking Gambit to win when I picked NAVI. So actually, that's what put me ahead of Anders, the predictions. So I didn't come absolutely last place. Thank you, Alex, so much.
I'm always just grateful when Pimp doesn't win.
That's the only thing that really matters. Yes, it's kind of like it's like running from a bear. You don't need to be first place. Matters. You just need to be faster than the bear or the last guy.
Yeah,
or the bear.
Yeah.
It really does.
The finals prediction is one that really counts, right? 5 points for guessing the tournament winner, but I went safe, man. You know, the Gambit coming into the event again. It's the on paper event, so I'm grateful that things turned out the way they were supposed to.
It's this, Gambit are the event horizon. They're the inevitability. All right, if you get within the orbit, of Gambit, eventually you'll be sucked into infinity and spit out an alternate universe where maybe you can win. But in this universe, everybody is within Gambit's orbit, and they're now the whetstone for the entire scene. And every team that plays against Gambit and loses against Gambit and plays against teams that Gambit lose to or anything like that is going to affect the composition of their team, the structure of their team, the roster changes they make. They're the one line at the end of the event. Actually, this is like an insider thing, but at the end of the event, we were casting, and then normally you do like the trophy lift moment. So then I talk. So you talk at the end of the round, and then I talk for a little bit while everything gets set up, and then you do the trophy lift, whatever. And this is online, so it's a little different, but the same protocols. And then after that ended, you finished talking. I said something else. I said, Gambit, they're the Astralis of now. And they're our Astralis. I think I said what did I say? They are the Astralis of our time. And what I wanted to say, and production cut it off because it was supposed to go to the desk from you, which is normal. So I fucked up. I should have said that earlier. But I said, what I was going to say was they are the Astralis of our time, the Astralis online. And I think right now, there is no difference between the effect that Gambit are having on the scene in that regard with other teams playing against them. But of course, it is still online. And a lot of us don't think that Gambit are going to fall off in some dramatic way, but it is still online. Like if Gambit didn't win the first LAN event or do, finals or something like that, then, it would throw all of their online results into question 100%, right?
Yep, that's the big one. It almost feels like all of these, now we're at a point where Gambit's getting these like consecutive online wins. And it almost feels like despite all of these tournament victories, that first LAN event is going to be more important than, this string of success they've had, because it's the start of the next chapter, and it's the big question.
Which is
the
so
entirety
unfair,
of this winning
right?
streak. Yeah, absolutely, man. Absolutely. Yeah. And I'm sure that pressure's in the back of their head.
Yeah.
Because it's one thing, like we talk about how Gambit, we first saw them like struggle versus tier 1 teams back at the end of 2020 DreamHack Masters. And that was like the hurdle, was for them to get over the top tier competition. And then once they started doing that regularly, then it was the final appearances. Then they lost a couple of those finals. And now it's just, you expect them to win events. They're closing events. It's like step by step, hurdle by hurdle. And it's only once you've achieved it once that you can, you have that mental blockade that kind of disappears, right? Mm-hmm. Once they've done it, they know they can continue to do it. They don't know. Other than Hobbit, they do not know if they can win on LAN. They do not know if they can perform on LAN. They do not know if their system functions, if their confidence holds strong. They do not know what it's like to travel ridiculous amounts, to be playing anywhere other than that weird attic room that they frag from. Like, they've never been out of their comfort zone, and I'm so excited to see what that looks like. And I'm so excited to see it work. That's the big one. I'm not part of the group of people who think it's going to fall off too badly. Well, I think there's an adjustment period they're allowed.
It's not even our opinions, right? Like, so far, every single pro player that we've talked to has not thought that Gambit were going to fall off.
Yeah.
Xtaz, Dupree, Config the other day, they don't believe there's any chance that they fall off in any meaningful way, because unless they had some severe, you know what I mean? Like, I think people overrate nervousness to this degree that it's like nothing that this team matters as soon as as soon as the air conditioning is too high, they're going to start whiffing all their shots. It's like, relax. They literally put so much work into, the level that Gambit have achieved. There has to be something said for that. That is not simply, they're just really good online. That is such a bad way to reduce the amount of work and preparation effort that Gambit have put in. Clearly other players can see it, but from the outside, it's so easy and I think it's especially because of the way they play, where even Config talked to us at Blast Overtime, and he said, Gambit, they just default every round. That's all they do. And it's actually just the best style for right now, where there's a lot of this oversaturation. But the thing is, that's going to hold up on LAN too, because in our LAN period, we had oversaturation as well. There were there was lots of time. There was no time to prepare new things when we had LANs as well. Maybe it was even harder. You weren't at home for 2 weeks straight ever.
Yep. Yep.
So there's no reason why that shouldn't continue to work even. But this defaulty style where they're grinding people down, I think it's got people scratching their heads.
It's so consistent as well with Gambit, man, because all of them are consistent. Your last point right there, where you're saying like, there was oversaturation in LAN. If there's any room where I think Gambit, I don't think Gambit's adjustments to a LAN circuit, to a return to normal Counter-Strike, I don't think that's going to be affected by inside of the server as much as it's going to be outside.
Mm-hmm.
Like that to me is the big question. Can these individuals adapt to a travel schedule? Can these individuals adapt to not having as much time to be sat at home together practicing because you're on the road? All of those days that you could be practicing in front of a computer with 5 people are now broken up by the fact that you're traveling across the world. Yeah. So that's one of the focus points that I'm going to keep an eye on as we kind of get in. I would love to see Gambit kind of pull in the Stralis of 2019 and 2019 and limit some of the events they go to. Yeah, I would love to. I'm
kind of impassioned about this subject, so I want to quickly just one more point. What is LAN? Okay, why is LAN more pressure? Why is LAN more pressure? Some people have never been to a LAN. They've never set up a keyboard and mouse on a stage. They've never sat in front of an audience. They've never done any of these things. So why is this? And even a local LAN is more pressure. So what is the difference? Okay. So the difference is, and it is a real difference. Okay. It is even sitting at a computer. Like, okay, let's say for example, now, okay, first of all, I'd like to not contradict myself. And I think Gambit, I'll put this out there right now. I think Gambit will survive all of these things because the amount of work and preparation they did. I'm not going to write that off because in my opinion, that's way more important than just not being nervous. Just having the genetics to not be nervous or whatever the hell people want to chalk it up to. All the work they've done matters way more. So that's what I will say. But the pressures of LAN are real, and here's what they are. You go into every LAN is different. That's number one. You get a new setup, a new PC. You got new NVIDIA settings or Radeon settings. You got new monitor settings. You have a desk that you're not comfortable with. You have a chair that is different from yours. You're sitting on a different seat height. And even when you sit there and plug in your keyboard, plug in your mouse, put your mouse pad down, DM for a few minutes, adjust all your settings, you never get it perfectly right. It never feels like home. And that is the difference. And you've got Shiro, I tweeted out, won 200K this year, sitting in an IKEA Marcus. And he won't have that online. He's going to have a elite gaming chair. Okay, depending on what LAN he goes to, and it's going to feel different. Now, do I think that matters more than how good Shiro is as a player? Of course not. Right? That's ridiculous. Mm-hmm. But that is one of the pressures, and then the other one is the audience. And here's the only real one for me with Gambit that I think actually could make a real meaningful difference.
Preach, brother.
It's the sound. What people don't understand is soundproof booths or not. Sound is going to play a huge factor on LAN. See, in soundproof booths, you hear the vibrations. It doesn't matter that you can actually hear the people talking. And some of the sound bleeds through. And on stage, even with perfect speaker array like they had at MLG, if you hold your mic down, you can hear things. It's indiscriminate. It's hard to understand what people are saying. So people aren't using comms like that at giant LANs. But that stuff is part of LAN. And with people talking and screaming as much as they are, even in soundproof booths, footsteps do not matter as much, almost at all sometimes on LAN. You can run rotations like Vertigo. You can run rotations on LAN that you could only walk before. That is a real thing. That's part of Counter-Strike and what many players understand as being part of LAN. So this part of the game where I feel like Gambit have been chemists in the server when it comes to figuring out how to play optimally and defaults slowly, carefully, meticulously. I think this is the point. This is the kind of way in which they might take a hit on LAN, getting used to that. Because something like sound matters so much less or matters in a different way. You have to use it differently. That's it.
Excellent, Rant. And here's why Gambit are going to take that exact situation and truly run with it. Because we are not returning to LAN straight into a giant stack stadium with cheers and fire and pyrotechnics and distractions and, bleeding audio. That's not the case. The way this is going to work is, as we've seen with this upcoming ESL event, it's going to be players in studio on a LAN connection, but not with a crowd, not with an audience, not with all of these problems that I think are the biggest hurdles for teams to adapt their gameplay to LAN on. I think Gambit are going to be eased into it. And so the first challenge is all of those smaller things that you mentioned about it being a different setup, about having to, get your peripherals in place the day of, not being able to sit down, plug and play. That stuff's going to be taken care of quickly. And I think that's why Gambit have a strong chance of maintaining their dominance. Maybe once we get them back into grand finals on stages, in stadiums with crowds, maybe then we see some of that crack. Maybe then we see this perfect default type CS. Maybe that's when we start to see the cracks emerge. Maybe the cracks emerge not by their own doing, but rather the environment of which they're playing. That's what I expect personally. The big games with the big audiences, that's where Gambit are going to look more human. Because if you keep them in this cryogenic Gambit chamber where everybody's frozen in fear and you can't do shit against them, dude, they're just going to keep winning. And they can do that in studio lands 100%. It's the stages and the crowds. That could be the undoing of Gambit.
Yeah. And also one thing that's maybe a little bit unfair when we talk about Gambit as well is, like, let's say the first LAN with a crowd happens like November or something like that. You also have to, that also means that Gambit have to stay consistent until that point and maintain this level and then do well on LAN as well, which is just, first of all, they even got up to that point. It would be absolutely absurd. Not many teams in history have ever stayed number one for that long. So there's probably like 5, right? So that already is insane. So it would be a huge shame, of course, if at any point they just dropped off even online before we got to a situation where LANs came back. But anyways, I think MICHU put it best. He said, even if they do badly on like a first LAN or something, can we just be reasonable? Can we just wait and see if it's after a few LANs, if they don't come up again, or if they really do fall off or not? Because he said, of course, everyone's going to freak out as soon as they lose one match in a LAN environment and call doom and say that they're the worst team ever and they were totally online. But that's obviously
the classic.
It's the classic. It's unfair, but it's the classic. Yeah, but they're going up against Hobbit, who's got a ring. Okay,
he's got a ring.
He's got a ring, baby, and he's coming for 2.
Yeah.
Okay.
And he is their land king. You know what I mean? He's leading them. He's leading them through Mordor, man.
Listen. We've talked too much. We've actually got exclusive interviews from players that we've done. We talked to Stanislaw. Okay, tell us why this interview with Stanislaw was so awesome.
The Stanislaw interview is, I would say, one of the most human moments that we really get out of Stanislaw. Stan's the kind of guy who, first and foremost, you never know if he's kidding. He's got a strong sense of sarcasm. He's got a colder delivery. But I think if you've had a chance to meet Stan and if you've had a chance to kind of pick his brain off of camera, off of broadcast, just, a human interaction, those happen. Stan is a very stand-up guy, and he's somebody who you want to see succeed. And he's somebody who I think he inherently generates like a level of respect from the people around him. He's one of those great people. Sometimes people don't like Stan because of his performance in a server or the way that rosters have changed around him. Like, all of that stuff aside, you should be a fan of Stanislaw. And I think that if you're on the fence, that this interview that we did with him should sell you, because at the core of Stanislaw is a passion for Counter-Strike.
Don't spoil.
And a never-ending love for CS.
Play it. Stan, nice to have you in here. How are you doing, man? How have you been doing lately?
I've been great. Life's good. We just finished top 6 at our first event in over a year, and I couldn't be happier.
Yeah, I can't see your camera right now, so I can't read the sarcasm, Stan, but I'm feeling it.
There's absolutely zero sarcasm.
I'm not sure anymore. I'm like even more now. I'm even a little bit more confused. I'm like a little deeper. All right. So, okay, right now you've gone through a couple roster changes, tons of criticism. I think let's just put that out there.
That's an understatement.
Yeah. Everything's been called into question. I spent honestly almost the entire kind of like winter period saying like, I was putting out EG propaganda. Of course, you know, Ethan leaves out of nowhere, and then a tarik, I guess you guys cut tarik or tarik leaves or whatever, and then you have to find replacements. It's not a situation you wanted to be in, right? Were either of these roster changes because it was of your own volition, or was it just forced circumstances, or was it something you saw coming?
The Ethan one we did not see coming. He just was overwhelmed with the travel schedule that was upon us. And that's fair, you know. He's a lot happier now, I'm sure. But with tarik, that one, obviously I can't reveal too much, but, you know, we had to make that change. And also with the coaching change, we had to make that change. There's been a lot of changes, but I don't want to make another change for the foreseeable future because things are actually going well now. Hopefully we bring in a coach and we just start building up again.
When it came to scouting and picking MICHU, what was the process? And in the process of scouting him, where was your head at, and how confident were you with picking him over other players?
Extremely confident. I knew I wanted him even before. Like, if we were ever going to plan to make a change, I knew like he would be on the list. He, when he was on Virtus Pro, he was, you know, showing some really good things. He had a lot of good experience. He played with some legends of the game, and that's invaluable experience that he can bring over here. And yeah, it's just been nothing but great since he's joined, and he's made our team a lot better.
Do you feel like you're deserving of people criticizing you, or do you feel like it's a mixture of unfortunate circumstances and some bad results? How do you look at it? What do you think is fair?
Criticism is always valid. We're public figures. We play competitive Counter-Strike. We're always in the public eye, and it's completely valid to be criticized when you play. That's just, it comes with the job. In my opinion, a lot of it does go too far, especially when, you know, we're getting death threats over losing a match. But at the end of the day, we understand that these are 12-year-old children placing bets on matches that they shouldn't be. And I don't really let it get to me. That's the beautiful thing about Counter-Strike. It's helped us build some really thick skin. We really don't care about what people say anymore. It's just a shame that a few bad apples have spoiled the bunch. There are still like a lot of positive fans out there that have stuck by us, and we love those guys. And yeah, it just, honestly, we just use it as motivation. The criticism's all valid. We haven't been playing well for the past year. But, you know, it just goes to show we have to prove everyone wrong. And I feel like this was a good start at IEM Summer.
Stan, you're a guy who you don't complain a lot, and you kind of just keep chugging along. And of course, it doesn't always do enough. Like, I mean, if people want more, or the like, you're kind of like Valve, actually. Like, people criticize you, you don't say a lot, and then people get even angry at you because you're actually not responding. But so it's actually kind of a nice thing that you're not actually just complaining about every single thing. Or like, but what is something that when you're kind of observing the narratives, or what do you think is talked about either too much or not enough when it comes to EG and yourself?
I don't play Valorant, so I don't know why people keep thinking I'm about to make the switch. I haven't touched that game since it came out. Like, I tried it a little bit, but it's just hilarious. Every time we win a match or lose a match, just Valorant gets mentioned, and I probably have like a total of 20 hours in that game. People are absolutely ridiculous.
Ethan's departure for Valorant seemed to be, in my opinion, fueled by kind of like personal life motives. Like you mentioned, the travel kind of got to him. But here you are, I would say somebody alongside Ethan who has, you know, strong connections to their home, a serious relationship, recently turned engagement. Congrats for that, bro.
Yeah.
Hell yeah.
Congrats.
Yeah, hell yeah.
Shout out to Ness.
I'm just kind of curious, like, what is it that makes, you know, you as a person capable of continuing this? You know, it's not as though CS has been this massive source of enjoyment for you. It's not like you guys are on this high streak, you know, riding wins and whatnot, dude. You're putting in hours in a difficult spot, and you're not seeming to like lose morale. You're seemingly as focused as ever. Like, what is it in your lifespan that keeps you this sharp, keeps you this honed in on CS? If you haven't even touched Valorant, it's because, you know, clearly Counter-Strike's your passion or whatever not. But what is it that I would, you know, no offense to him, but like what makes you different than Ethan?
Well, I don't know too much about his situation or what he wanted. I just wanted what's best for him, and he knew what was best for him. So in that moment, he decided he couldn't really travel anymore. For myself, I guess it's kind of nice that you asked this question, so I can kind of talk about my fiance. But she's like really supportive of me, and she's almost been my rock for the past, well, ever since I met her, she's been my rock, and so it's just a lot easier to be able to go away on these long trips knowing that I'm still going to be supported no matter what. And everyone should know by now that Counter Strike is the only thing that I really care about in terms of, my career. I'm not going to ever abandon Counter Strike. It's given me everything I could have ever wanted. And I love this game to death. I'm never going to give up. And that's just what keeps me going every day. Not only like the motivation to prove everyone wrong, but just my pure love for the game. It's still fun to me to this day. I've been playing for over 15 years, and yeah, I don't think that's ever going to change. I'll probably, even when I retire, I'll probably still play for fun every now and then.
Yeah, I like that attitude, man. I think that's why you're. I feel like everybody sees that, and no matter the results of EG, no matter performances or whatever, not, I feel like that passion's always clear, dude. So I'm glad you had that answer, and I sympathize with you. I think that sometimes we don't get to talk about our rocks back home, bro. But this circuit, this lifestyle, it can catch up with you if you're not careful. And it is nice to have that kind of like that pillar. So glad you're locking it down for us.
It's not easy. Everyone should just have a really good balance, whether that means, whether it's a relationship or just friends or family, when you're home, take that time and spend the quality time with your family and friends or loved ones, and also do other things other than, play CS if you're a CSGO pro. Like when I'm at home and we don't have anything really going on, like I'll take the time to, go to the gym and do fun things and just enjoy life. There should be a balance, because if you don't really have that balance, you're gonna get burnt out, and you don't want that either.
I'm curious, dude. Now that we're kind of talking lifestyle, I've heard you make a hell of a barbecue.
Oh yeah.
I used to watch those old Cole VODs, so I know you've got that locked down, dude. What's some other stuff back home, Stan, that kind of keeps you centered, keeps you real?
Dude, the main thing is the gym. It's been like 2 weeks and I haven't gone, and I'm losing my mind. It's not COVID in Monaco is not looking good, so gyms are like kind of hard to find around here. But yeah, that's what keeps me going every day. I just take out all of my frustration about the topic of me playing Valorant on the weights. That's how I do it. I just picture those like 12-year-old betters under those weights.
So, yeah, maybe curling the little like 3-pound dumbbells, yelling. Thanks for taking the time to talk to us, man. Appreciate that.
Yeah, cheers, bro.
Some real heartfelt stuff.
Always a pleasure with my fellow Canadians.
Yes.
Hell yeah, bro. Hell yeah.
Down. We're rooting for you.
Appreciate it.
He expressed just how much he loves the game, and just says like, I'm never really think about anything else. I'll continue to play even if I retire. And that he loves CS. But the thing is with Stan, like, he doesn't stream, he doesn't tweet much, he doesn't complain about things publicly. You never see him give excuses in interviews about stuff, but he doesn't ever put himself out there. So people have a very cold view of him. So it's very rare to see him say something just straight from the heart like that in an interview.
Yep, dead on. I think his approach, right? I think his tempered approach, like you say, not being on all these platforms, not being readily available for people to become his fan, doesn't create a counterweight for people to become his critics. And if you are a critic of Stanislaw because of the performance of EG and the results of Evil Geniuses, then there's nothing to bring you back into humanizing him. So I would hope that if you guys took the time to listen to this, you now have a deeper insight as to just what goes on in Stanislaw's mind, because you don't get that window open very often. And I think this was arguably one of the most like human moments of Stanislaw in an interview. I think we got it from him, bro. We tapped into Stan.
It's the Canadian power, I guess.
Yeah, like Canadian maple.
Yeah, like maple syrup. We all bleed maple syrup here, actually. I wanted to talk about daps coming in to coach EG, okay, because he's coming back from Valorant. And he is coming back from Valorant as a player to coach EG. And the funniest part about all this is another situation where people have said that daps and Stanislaw are not friends. They've said that that Zeus and Stanislaw are not friends. And yet who has Stan worked with now? Both of them. He's had Zeus was coach of EG for almost 2 full years when they touched #1 in 2020. When they won, IEM New York together, he was the coach. They went through a lot, ups and downs, and they buried the hatchet. They got past their previous issues, and they actually achieved things and worked together. And that I had so much respect for Stan from that perspective, because I think a lot of people are actually much more petty than that. Would never be able to work with someone again who they just didn't like for some reason. And now we have daps coming in as a coach. What does that say? A player who everybody has accused Stan of pushing out of teams, as if he's like actively shoved his way in to get him out or something like that. Consistently. And now daps is willing to not only leave his team, but leave Valorant, come back to CS and coach EG. I think that says more than anything that we thought about those situations in the past.
I think that it's a prime example of how, some people think that the interpersonal relationships and community of professional CS functions along the same lines of high school, where this drama can get in the way and then you better avoid me in the hallways. I better not see you at LAN. Like, no, that's not how this is, man. We're talking about people who are absolute professionals. And not everybody is. Okay. There are definitely going to be some outlying examples where maybe things aren't as, where the palette isn't as cleansed as it can be with Stanislaw. But clearly, you're hitting it on the head, man. Not only was this conversation around Zeus, but also daps, and here he is. So I think, even in that interview, you can tell Stanislaw has professionalism. He has that aura around him. And if he's able to surpass those things, to do what's better for the team, what's better for the organization, what's better for results, then it's just another layer of respect. And I think without hearing it from daps himself, I think that daps, which is the highest profile player to go from CS to Valorant and come back, this has to be something comparable to what Stanislaw mentioned in the interview, where there's this undying love for Counter-Strike. I think daps saw an opportunity, moved away, chased something new. That is all respectable, decision-making and behavior, man. There's nothing wrong with trying to go to a different game and carve out something for yourself. But if daps wasn't satisfied for whatever reason, or is more drawn to a chance to come back to Counter-Strike, I think everything Stan said about loving CS has to also be a pillar in the decision-making of daps in this situation, because he's coming back to Counter-Strike not only as a returning from Valorant player, but also as a coach, a role he hasn't done. So he's just looking for his in back to CS. That's what this feels like to me. And I am so down.
Just as that game giveth, that game also taketh away. MBK has moved from CSGO to Valorant, a veteran of Counter-Strike, one of the greatest players of all time in terms of his achievements. In the last few years, has obviously fallen off significantly, but already has played 10 times longer than anybody you've ever known at the highest level. Won 2 majors, was a top 20 player 3 times. All by the age of 27. One of the phenoms of Counter-Strike. Yes, he's a bit washed up now. I mean, it's not like, I want to put it plainly, he's not the player he used to be. He could still contribute in a meaningful way if he stayed in the scene, where he could make lots of players better with his experience. He could improve a significant amount of teams that were coming up. He probably can't play on another tier 1 team after going OG, playing on double pony a little bit. Not exceptional in his roles anymore, not super high performance, but there's the idea. Do you want to go to a slightly worse team and then a slightly worse team, and then your salary comes down? Or do you want to go over to a new game where you could literally be top of the game instantly, get paid, top dollar, and also it's like a fresh thing. You've already done everything in CS. You've won 2 majors. You beat the game. It's a new challenge, and it's something fun that you can do. So I get it.
Where else was he going to go where he could accomplish something that would give him
G2? He's not going to Vitality.
Nope, no sir. It's like, if you're him, if you're that human being, you're still chasing the same championship dopamine hit that comes from taking titles. that title doesn't have to be in Counter-Strike. And so if you can't sympathize with this NBK move, I don't think you're a fan of the natural born killer. And if you've been watching CS for any period of time other than the last year or two, I feel like you should be a fan of NBK. Definitely a household name, man. That is, I want to say, unfortunately walking away from CS, but I'm happier to see him trying to thrive in a different ecosystem than just whittling out like a weed here in CS. So thank you for everything, MBK, and farewell, brother.
Yes. And come back if you want. I have a cool stat, okay?
Hit me.
So, all right. So this is the stat, okay? Tarik has earned $791,839.21 in CSGO. And NBK has won $833,953, $33,000 more, $42,000 more than Tarik.
Money. And that's from I feel like a period of success where prize pools were lower. NBK's been, like that's a lot. I feel like that's a lot of more tournaments. I'm trying to pull stats out of you.
He's $43,000 better than Tarik.
You can't argue against the numbers, man. That's science.
Exactly.
So
that was my fact.
It was a good one, man. Nice factoid.
Yeah. Not as good as Stewie though.
That's true.
No,
that's true. Mohan, should we move on to the fall final? Speaking of hyped up prize pools, money, fame, and fortune.
Yes.
We have the hashtag BackToLAN, because the Blast show is getting back to where it belongs. The Blast Fall Finals, not the Fall Groups, not the Fall Showdown. The Blast Fall Finals will be held in the Copenhagen Royal Arena with thousands of cheering fans, all of which who have almost 2 years of pent-up pandemic aggression to cheer for their favorite Counter-Strike players, man. The energy in that, I can already feel. I'm already getting goosebumps because the BackToLAN experience where Counter-Strike belongs in front of roaring fans. Oh, it's all coming. And in the Royal Arena, where we already have history, not only us individually, but as members of Blast, right? This is Blast's home turf, man. This is where the Blast boys rumble, in the Royal Arena. We've packed it out. We've sold it out. We've had events here prior. 2019 has to be, of all the LAN events that I've ever cast, my best memory of casting is hands down Blast Copenhagen 2019. You and I casted the grand finals to a sold out stadium. That is the biggest crowd I've ever commentated in front of. And when you commentate to a crowd that size, I want to say that casters are no longer in control.
Yes.
We are like the maestros. I'm trying to think of the word for orchestras. Yeah, I think it is maestro.
We're like the tuba.
Yeah.
we're
just the guys.
We just make a big noise.
We're the guys swinging the little sticks.
That has to match the energy.
It's the crowd that makes that noise, man. And you have to ride with it. Like I feel for you, brother, as a color commentator, because suddenly when you're on LAN, it's way harder to fit in your analysis.
I'm just yelling. You're just yelling.
Like, exactly. Yeah. You have to let go. You've got to you literally run with the energy. Like every caster will say that you can only reach certain heights as a commentator because of the audience and the energy that surrounds you. Sadakis is one of the greatest CS casters to ever touch this. Greatest commentator to ever touch esports, you could argue. And I don't think we get nearly as great moments from him if there isn't audiences for him to work with, because he's one of those people who thrives under pressure, and crowds add pressure, man.
And it's
nuts.
Every clip with a crowd sounds 10 times better than it does offline.
It's glorious.
That's just the way it is. We have to pretend there's an audience behind us all the time.
Yeah. It was Freya in the green room at the most recent Blast Spring finals that said, like, going back and watching the clips and remembering what an AWP sounds like in an arena.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like when the base of the AWP shot shakes the floorboards, dude. Oh,
it's different.
And we're going back.
It's different. So yeah, if you're not hyped up now, then nothing will get you there. That's what it is. 3 days in a row, 12,000 people. in the audience, and we're like 1 meter from the first row casting. It's a phenomenal experience for us and for the fans. And for the first time, it'll be three days in a row, when before it was only in the Blast old format 1 day of LAN. So this is going to be unprecedented, as I like to say very often. You can buy tickets now, I think, online. Find them. Search Google, maybe like Blast, fall final tickets. I'm sure you'll find it. Okay.
Expert advice.
They didn't pay me to do a plug. I'm just doing it, so I'm not going to do the extra effort in making sure to direct you to the exactly right place. So that's the compromise. But I don't have to say hashtag ad at the end. I did that because I wanted to.
Chose to.
Okay, it's in the chat. It's in the chat. The link's in the chat. Okay. All right. Hot takes?
Hot takes. Hot takes. Shall we?
Hot takes.
This part's unscripted. I mean, the whole thing's pretty unscripted. There is a script, but we just never
There's an
follow
outline.
it.
There's no script. Yeah.
There's an outline. Yeah. I see people, putting arrows and exclamation marks for things we've missed or things that we're getting up to, and I just ignore it all, Launders. This is our show.
Yeah.
Hot takes. This is where Mohan buzzes if he disagrees. And I'm thinking about starting with something. I wanted to talk SMGs today.
Go for it.
Yeah?
MP5 sucks.
Yeah, okay, I mean that's the get it out of the server, dude. If you buy an MP5 in a game of competitive, I'm gonna break it over
You
my
buy
knee.
it and not 1.5, 1.6. Get out.
Okay, the MP9 is better than the Mac 10, but the UMP is also better than the Mac 10.
No.
You're not buying it?
I forgot to buzz. Mac 10's cheaper. It's better run and gun, more bullets to work with, better for entering. I can't think of a map that you'd rather enter with a UMP over a Mac 10. Plus, the Mac 10 has better skins plus ratio.
Okay, which SMG is better than the Mac 10? Set me up to ant you.
The SMG that is better than the Mac 10 is the MP9.
Is that the only one?
The only SMG better than the Mac 10 is the MP9. Those are the two best in order.
Obviously, I just told you my opinion. I still stand by the fact that I think Glaive would agree with me. And if Glaive agrees with me, I'm probably right. The UMP is underrated, man. Very vertical spray pattern. Yes, okay. The run and gun of the Mac 10. Okay, yeah, you got a point there, man. But I'd rather be in a post plant with an UMP. Okay, I'll run out onto a bomb site with a Mac 10.
I'd rather pick up a gun from the guy I killed than hold an SMG. How about that?
Whatever.
This guy's sitting at quad on B site Inferno with an UMP and expects to win the 1v2.
AmaNEk.
There's an AK at first oranges, idiot.
Pick it up. I leave that for my teammates because I'm not concerned about changing out weapons if I have an UMP. Know what I'm saying?
Okay, all right.
AmaNEk is a world-class AWP'er.
True.
Yeah?
It is a hot take. It's a hot take.
Because some people, I think, would say he's a world-class player. I mean, an AWP'er specifically. It's hard to label him an AWP'er and not just a great player, but I am specifically labeling AmaNEk a world-class AWP player.
Okay, I have to agree because I said this on my stream the other day. I said I would never write an article saying that AmaNEk is a world-class AWP'er, but in my head, I believe it. When I watch the games, I think he's keeping up. I think he's better than some other AWP'ers right now. I think he's just even better as a player overall. I think it's incredible how good he's gotten already, even though he was a primary op in the past a long time ago on a Misfits, way worse competition, way worse team. He has experience, but I honestly believe he's not only holding his own, but just better than some other oppers out there. I just don't know where to put him on the list exactly, but I agree. He's definitely not, when he's opping, dude, when we saw that, it was a G2 NIP game where, AmaNEk had that round where he dropped into dark on lower on B site nuke, and he got that like 4K holding down the site. It's dude, he's insane at opping. He's crazy good. Even on nuke, which is probably for me the map that I use to judge other oppers against each other. CT side nuke is the map that I look at to judge how good an op is doing at the tier 1 level. Because in my opinion, all of the best AWPers have the best stats on Nuke in like order of how good they are. Like that's like a simple number one Zywoo, then Device, then you know what I mean. So I really look to that map and specifically CT side, and because of how difficult it is too. But honestly, I can't buzz you, dude, because I'm with you.
Good, excellent. Now give me something to buzz.
Is that a waiting noise?
Sorry.
Okay.
Fell asleep there. Just waiting.
NAVI will win the major.
Oh.
Bit is a long-term upgrade to Flamey that is already working out. By the time we get to LAN, okay, I don't think Gambit are going to fall off, but I think once we get to LAN and NAVI can already keep up with them in head-to-head, and then they get the LAN buff of Simple just going crazy. They're going to have all the fans, by the way. They're the ones with all the fans. They get the crowd advantage, no matter where they go. It is, I think, NAVI, as a second best team in the world, are worse than Gambit right now online, as Gambit are even staying strong. But we get back, just that little edge is, I think, enough for NAVI to get to the point where they can actually win. And then they have Bit is the reason. Who knows how good Bit will be in 3 months? Look how goddamn good that guy's getting already.
Okay. I
believe it.
I definitely.
This is Simple's major. I believe it.
I sympathize with you. I sympathize with you.
Name
genuinely.
another team.
The other team.
Pick the team. You pick the team. Pick the team then.
Okay.
That will win the major.
Okay. Gambit.
Oh.
It's going to happen. Ancient has already proven itself to be a better map than the 3 most recent departed from the active map pool, which would be Train, Cache, and Cobblestone. Ancient has already proven to be a better map than Train, Cache, and Cobblestone.
Yes.
Nice. Good opinion.
Okay. My only issue is Train on that list, which I think is the most obvious one. But listen, the numbers don't lie. People weren't playing Train at every level. It was a hard map. I didn't want to play it in pugs. It was a hard map to play in matches, even though it was much better in matches with a good team. But even outside execs, to a certain degree, were really random to sometimes with the way how open it was with the way the trains were laid out, and like how you would come out with the entries, how much space you could grab off one kill or deny space off one kill. I think there was too much emphasis when it came to these outer execs. I think there were some real problems with Train. So I think, I don't know, maybe I disagree that it's gone farther than Train, because I think Train was very ironed out. We don't even know what's bad even necessarily about Ancient yet, but I agree in terms of trajectory, it's accelerating faster than Train accelerated when it came into the pool, which I guess it's always been in the pool, but I'm with you. It's an outstanding man, today is not a lot of arguments.
Not a lot of arguments.
For the hot takes. Okay, LNZ will not be the next roster move on NIP.
Ooh, I agree. LNZ was the real deal at Blast Spring Finals. Yeah. LNZ comes in, NIP finished top 4 at a pretty stacked event, and he was the guy in a couple of their games, man.
A G2 match.
He obliterated big, like that one right there. That to me was when I saw like LNZ dominate. Was the game versus Big, and then versus G2, he kept them in one map near single-handedly, and he was the second highest rated player across the series for the Ninjas. Yes, they fell, but they fell to G2 in an overtime decider on Inferno. So LNZ is not on the chopping block. Plopsky is.
Plopsky is. Damn, we didn't really buzz any of these. Wow. Okay. Do you want to do pitch on Ancient?
Yes, pitch on Ancient. The bomb has been planted. That's the next segment. Let's go. The bomb has been planted.
What do you want? Best map or worst map? I'll take worst.
Okay, I'll take best.
Are you
Ancient? Okay, you're going first?
Oh.
Sorry, okay.
Yeah, let's go for
I was getting excited.
Ancient is the worst map to ever grace Counter-Strike because it has some of the worst bomb sites you've ever seen. It is this dark green that when you turn up your digital vibrance, everything just becomes mushy peas. It's dark in the corners. There's too many cubbies. It's too simplistic. The post plants are awful. And there's so many more things to talk about with Ancient that make it such a horrible map. But we've only got 40 seconds to talk, and I think I'm running out of time.
Not a bad take. I think your energy might carry your argument here. Okay, so let me match you. The reason that Ancient is the best map to ever grace Counter-Strike is because it is something new, and it takes this weird Frankenstein approach of implementing different types of previous maps into this current iteration. Okay, you entry onto the B site, that feels like train. You got these close proximity, close corner situations up on the B site. It favors CT aggression. It favors CT passiveness. It's got open skyboxes to everywhere. Very much like Overpass, the best map in the pool. Ladies and gentlemen, Ancient is an incredible map because all these cosmetic changes that Launders is crying about can be easily changed. You take down the green, you put up the gray. That's all you gotta do. That's all you got to do.
Hands on the table. Put your pencil down. That's it. You're out of time. Should we do the Q&A?
Let's do the Q&A. This is a first for.
All
so
right.
I mean, again, right? It's
up.
the third episode of our Push to Talk podcast, and we're always paving the way for new content and improvement. This one has a Q&A, so brought to us by the Blast Discord group. If you guys listening to this now want to get in on the next episode's Q&A, make sure you guys join the Blast Discord, participate in the Blast Discord, and send us your questions. Blast vets them so as to only make us look good, of course.
Yes. Okay, from Entropy. Oh, okay. Entropy.
Nice.
My question for you is, what is your preparation for match/tournament would consist of? Do you look at player histories, map stats, demos, etc.? Do you often chat with players and coaches privately to try to get a sense of how they play? And as I answer the question, for me is, I think after all these years, we get paid because of the amount of work we've already done. So a lot of the work that we do comes from watching the events, and also all the events that we've casted, all of the work that we've done, analyzing demos or looking at stats over the years. And then just refreshing on that to, do future tournaments. But all of the above, really, like it just comes, with the job where we do all these interviews for Blast, for this Blast podcast. I end up talking about that in the casts, even though they have nothing to do with each other necessarily. Every time we talk to player, every time there's a player interview, we're using that information. I talk to players like DM wise all the time. I ask them questions I have about why teams do certain things. Now, I will say there's moments where, let's say, I asked Device once at a LAN, I was like, something about this thing that I said about Astralis, and I asked him if it was true or not from a cast that I had. It was at Blast Copenhagen something. And he said that they would rather not say the answer to some of the questions because they feel like they do certain things better than other teams. So it's actually fine to make guesses as to why they do things because they don't want to give stuff away. So some of this stuff, it's conjecture, but it's by design that's actually just the best way to do it. You look at it from the outside, some of the stuff you can't verify with the players and teams and stuff. So I honestly, this whole discord between the NIP organization and their presence on Twitter has been a little bit out of place in spots because it's actually not very normal that you can simply talk to the org or players and just get information about everything that you want to know and get like direct answers. That's actually not normal. And that's not normal in sports. That's not normal in CS. That's actually something that you normally expect there to be some barrier there to that information so that you don't give someone else an edge, and that the organizations and the players are supposed to let pundits and let audience talk about whatever they want and make guesses and have conjecture. So when they're coming at Sponge about taking guesses or saying things about NIP that they said weren't true and that he could have just asked, that's not fair to Sponge at all, because that's not normal for people to be able to do. So the invitation is great, but in conversations like this in sports and esports or whatever, it's perfectly normal to talk about things from the outside and only have an outside perspective.
Dead on, man. And Launders and I are two different casters. We have two different styles and strengths and weaknesses. And A lot of the stuff that he said here, I think, plays on to me as well, but not as specifically. I think being the play-by-play and being the hype man, one of my things is being storyline driven. So just knowing the historical context of the big games. You know, I like to go into an event with a bit less prep because I want to let that event speak for itself. It's nice to be prepared, and Launder's biggest point here is like we're already standing on a mountain of information. We've gotten to this point. We know X already. Letting an event speak for itself, I think, shows the significance of each of the maps on the way to the finals, and then contextualizing the finals of any Blast event within the larger scope of Counter-Strike and the larger, you know, circuit of all the other ongoing events. That's something that I always try to, you know, focus in on, remind yourself of, try to create that emotional connection based on the weight of the moment, the importance of the game, etc. And you can do that really easily by just touching on small details. You know, this hasn't happened since X. This won't happen again until X. Things like that. You know, really try to drum up the emotion in people so that they realize what they're watching has real impact on people's lives. So if we go to the next question from Atomic, which moments were your favorite ones during your casting career? And I have to shout out and throw back to Blast Copenhagen 2019. The biggest audience that either of us have ever cast in front of, the biggest arena, the most epic stage with special effects and pyrotechnics, and the grandeur of that moment as we got to cast the finals. You know, Blast had given us multiple finals in the past, but some of those traveling Blast events, it was the local language casters that were on the stage. And we, as the English broadcast, were kind of in the doldrums of the venue. You know, we were back in the locker rooms and whatever, not there to bring the broadcast, there to still feel the energy and see the crowd, but not be surrounded by it, not be a part of it. When we cast in Copenhagen and you get to stay on that stage, and remember, these were events where we had only one day in the arena, only one day. And as having, 3 pairs of casters, you got maybe 1 or 2 matches on this stage. And we had the absolute honor of bringing the finals to that event. You know, I still get goosebumps thinking about it. My girlfriend was there as well, so I felt like extra connected. You know, it was just, that was one of the best days of my life. Blast Copenhagen 2019.
You know, before the pandemic really hit, we did the Blast London spring series, and that was like the LAN in the new studio in London, where we had the smaller studio style audience with 4 pockets of fans in cheering sections, and they had the cool ass glass that would go up to stop people from being able to see each other. But they had basically everything came together for Blast with like proper format, on LAN, extended time. We had the best hotel ever. We spent so much time hanging out. We would just like the games were great. I mean, I was just coming back from a trip to Vietnam and Thailand, where I was with my girlfriend. I had my nails painted white. My hair was white. I had fresh suits that I got from a tailor in Vietnam who tailored them in 24 hours and didn't need to go back and resew anything. We had the sickest hotel where and the best schedule where we spend 2 hours in the gym every day, eat an a la carte breakfast at this really amazing spot in the Canary Wharf in London, and then go to the studio, cast our one game in just pristine form where we're feeling amazing, surrounded by all the people we loved from Blast and all the players that were there, and everybody just feeling the LAN vibes in a much more kind of controlled situation, where it's like LAN but more comfortable, because stadiums are obviously more energy, like higher peaks, but overall, like for many days, you wouldn't want to do that. And Blast London, probably some of the best 3 weeks of my entire life, like just so good. Loved that. Okay. What can you recommend for those who start casting? This question is from Wayne. What can I cast? Do you want to take this?
I've got this one. So I'd break this question into 2. The first part is harder to answer. Because if you're talking about what you can cast in terms of like aspiring to do this as a career, as a job, I think it's difficult for us to give you any meaningful answer, seeing as we've we've distanced ourselves to that like starting point. I don't know what the grassroots casting looks like anymore. I don't know who the in is. I don't know which organizers you should try and get a pulse with, but I'd say just, put your feelers out there, man. The one thing that I can absolutely answer to your question of what you can cast and what anybody can cast, and how I started practicing my casting before I ever got, pulled onto online events and began the path, man, is you open up Counter-Strike right now, you go to the watch tab, you go over to the historic events, and all of the major VODs, all of the major games are right there available to you with or without the casting. You turn off the casting and you cast major games. You can record it, post it to your own YouTube. You can just simply do it for yourself and practice going through the motions of commentating. Hell, I used to even do it with the commentators and choose a commentator. And every time that the other caster throws back to the caster you've chosen, you speak over him. And you basically inject yourself into a conversation with a tier 1 commentator from time ago, and you basically throw yourself into that, so it's as if you're casting the major and you're practicing with good CS, a good partner, and no pressure because it's not live. So it's a perfect place to practice. You could sound like shit from the start, doesn't matter. You're at least going through the motions. And once you start to understand the rhythm of the game and you understand the nature of a conversation while casting, the back and forth between two people in a almost scripted but non-scripted way, you're going to immediately start becoming better. You're going to immediately start developing fundamentals. And then, with that elevated base level, fingers crossed, hopefully you two, brother, can become a CS caster down the road, bro.
I honestly didn't even know you thought about all that or tried all that. Pretty cool.
From Stetch, best rifler right now. And my answer,
Axile.
Oh my God, how are you going to do me like that? Axile.
It's Axile.
100% Axile. On for if Axile remains as impactful as he is, I think he's on for a top 5 in the HLTV Top 20 2021. This podcast is sponsored by EPOS, the power of audio. Is it time to take your game to the next level? The EPOS H3 closed acoustic gaming headset is multi-platform compatible and delivers crisp, clear audio, spine-shivering bass, and a truly immersive gaming experience. Learn more about the H3 gaming headset at eposaudio.com/gaming. Now, just a thank you to everybody who gave us these questions to answer for this episode. And if you are listening to this after we've recorded it, remember, Blast Discord, post all your questions. We'll get the best ones in, and be sure to get to that in a month's time. The Blast Push to Talk podcast, closing out with an informal ask for feedback as well, you guys. We try to keep things fresh here. We try to keep things on the move. We kind of introduce new things, take out old things. We want the creme de la creme. We want the best of the best, and we have no time for all the other fluff. So as well, hit us up on the Blast social medias or on the Blast Discord with what you think we could do better or worse. And thank you guys for listening. But Launders, I think this is it.
Yes. Bye, G-Boy, Emarino, Nub, Atomic, Scars, I'm Ren. Everybody walking around in their kitchen making food, listening. Everybody sitting on their balcony with their phones out. All of y'all on the beach. Everyone chilling. Goodbye, Zavi. Goodbye, Imran. Goodbye, Steph. Thanks for hanging out, everybody. Appreciate you. Bye, Paulo. Take care, everybody. Bye, Scribblesong.